Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel Held Dominance. Anthony here. Please remember to like and subscribe, and also click that notification bell if you're enjoying what you've seen and want to see more. Coming up from the NRLs, the Storm versus Panthers. And from the Super League, Warrington Wolves versus Hull KR. Now for the continuing playoff picture for the Super League first of all, as that was the next game in order for the NRL and Super League games this weekend. And we're at the Hannibal Jones Stadium on Friday night for Warrington Wolves versus Hull KR. And Hull KR and Warrington come into it into different forms, as Warrington won their last game, where Hull KR lost to a very depleted, packed Leeds Rhinos side. Anyway, let's look at the teams. Warrington without a full strength side, without only Mike Cooper, who was suspended, so Steve Price could choose whoever he wanted for his squad, and chose to leave out former England winger Josh Charnley and Leeds bound halfback Blake Austin. I remember who Warrington played in the last game, and it was Castleford Tigers, as Matty Ashton scored a hat-trick in that game, and instead of a place in the starting lineup, he finds himself on the bench. Conversely, the late withdrawal of forwards George Lawler and Corbin Sims meant the visitors were without 9 senior players, including Ryan Hall and Matt Parcells. So into the first half, and the opening 11 minutes was a bit of an arm wrestle, with Warrington a little bit ahead in terms of territory. But they were quite a bit more dominant, as Akawala went in for a massive run, which troubled centre Brad Takarangi, as he ended up going off for a head injury after 11 minutes. But he was able to return after passing his concussion test. The first half was littered with handling errors, 3 of which inside the first 3 minutes, which prevented either side from building up pressure. Warrington looked threatening in the early stages, especially through hooker Darryl Clark, who looked set to score the first try until losing the grip on the ball as he struggled to reach the line, but their last kicking options let their opponents off the hook. Hull KR had to weather an early onslaught before taking the lead through Jordan Abdul, the Super League Man of Steel nominee, as he attacked the line and dummied his way over after 17 minutes, and also kicked the conversion to make it 6-0 to Hull KR. When Wolves centre Jake Mamo and standoff George Williams both went close at the other end, Rovers captain Sean Kenny Dowd and winger Ben Crooks came to the rescue with last-ditch tackles which illustrated their team's hunger and desire. Even down to 12 men, with the sin-binning of interchange prop Albert Vete for a late challenge on Gareth Widdop as the ball had gone, Smith's men maintained their resolve to protect their lead. A handling error 10 metres from their own line by young Warrington's substitute Ellis Longstaff put his side under pressure just before half time. But even set up with Jordan Abdul for a drop goal attempt just before the half time hooter, that was dragged wide. It was like all the other games in the Super League at this time of the year. Well, the other game being the night before, where it was stodgy, it was slow, it was momentumless for Hull KR or Warrington to get the foothold, and it just needed something a little bit more from either side, and they would run away and win it. But that was half time. It was 6-0. So into the second half we go, and it's Warrington who are the first to make a meaningful attack, as they open up the visitors' defence through fullback Stephen Ratchford. But Rovers' scrambling defence is superb yet again, and they quickly struck again to double their lead. OKR off the back of this. Standoff Mikey Lewis intuitively chipped over the Wolves' defence from 20 metres out and won a foot race with Ratchford to grab the decisive try. Abdul converted the try to make it 12 points to nil and stretched the lead with a penalty before left winger Jimmy Kindhorse, one of the players brought in by Smith to just plug some gaps, made sure of the win after 67 minutes by taking fullback Will Dagger's pass to score his side's try, third try of the game on the left hand side. Abdul put the finishing touches onto a magnificent performance with a drop goal to clinch a memorable victory for the Hull KR team as they went on to win 19 points to nil, and Abdul converted the Kindhorse try as well. It was another half of bits and starts, fumbles, bumbles and mess-ups. That's just Warrington. No, that's what I call them. No, I'm only kidding. But there needs to be a post-mortem of Warrington Wolves. So I'm so happy with Hull KR's performance, as I don't mind the underdog winning. Yes, I've joked about Hull KR consistently previously. I thought they would be bottom last year, which happened, and also bottom this year. But Tony Smith has turned them around into a real off-the-cuff side with some very, very good players and some good youngsters coming through too. They've used Mikey Lewis properly by moving him back and forth through championship clubs this year while playing at York City Knights on loan, and he did a little bit of a stint elsewhere as well. So coming into these final games, he's got someone that's fresh, full of himself, and very, very good player to boot. They deserve the win. Jordan Abdul is leading their line very, very well, and he is my man of the match. Jordan Abdul, with his kicking, his way of leading the team around, his way that he opened the scoring in the first half, because without that, I don't think Hull KR would have been as well-rounded as they were in the second half. On the flip side, Warrington. What can you say about their season? Well, first of all, Greg Inglis came out of retirement to play for Warrington for a couple of seasons, but he has succumbed to injury and had to retire again, unfortunately. There was the big hoopla after that with George Williams, whether he was coming back to the UK on these shores with Warrington or not, or if he were going elsewhere. Eventually signed for them. And then there was Blake Austin, who went to Leeds, who signed for Leeds. Jake Marmol's going to Castleford. Chris Hill. Jake Marmol's actually their leading try scorer, and he's going to Castle. Chris Hill's going to Huddersfield. Akawala in the Pack's leaving. I'm sure there'll be a few more people leaving. I know backroom staff. Steve Price is going to Cronulla. Andrew Henderson is leaving, and Lee Breers is leaving the club. So there's going to be a big backroom shake-up with whoever comes in with Darryl Powell to coach the side. Yeah. Jinx for not winning a grand final in Super League. It's going to continue unless they get some real sustainability. They have got some class players, but they need to blood in youngsters for the next generation and make sure that they're good enough. Players that they're bringing in at the moment, like Longstaff, Ellis Longstaff, who plays last night, are all good and all, but are they going to be grand final winners? Don't know. There was a period in the second half where Daryl Clark had to sit down, and they put Rashford in the pack at 9 when they brought Matty Ashton on, and then realised that they can't just do this, so they had more playmakers on when they brought Daryl Powell back on. They had Widdop, Powell, Ashton, Rashford, Williams, all on the pitch going into the second half, and they couldn't make any headway. I don't know what's up with Warrington, but all the money that's been put in might be a bit of a downside for it, instead of building a squad with potential. They were looking like they were doing that when they signed Chris Hill from Warrington back in 2012. But it never materialised. They just relied on the ever-revolving door of coaches, and also being at a level that brings fans in. They have to change as well. They're not the only ones in Super League, but if they have a chance, if they want a chance of being in the grand final at minimum, they will have to bed in these players that are there quite early, and also have the right players. We'll see what 2022 brings to them with Daryl Powell. Well, now let's look into the Melbourne Storm versus the Penrith Panthers in the second NRL playoffs elimination final, held at Suncorp Stadium on Saturday the 25th of September. The Melbourne Storm come into it fresh and invigorated as they had the week off on this Saturday game. Penrith will have to dig deep to refill their tanks ahead of facing a fresh and invigorating Melbourne. The grinding 8 points to 6 win over Parramatta on Saturday in Mackay was an energy-sapping encounter, and the Panthers haven't got the luxury the Storm have enjoyed. Virtually 14 days of rest to soothe some of their aches and pains. And again, revenge is a hungry beast, and the Panthers' appetite is still there to knock the team that beat them last year out of last year's finals. These are the best two teams in the NRL competition, 21 wins each from their 24 matches. In head-to-head matchup, the spoils were shared, with the Panthers winning their round 3 game, while the Storms exacted revenge in the 20th. Only once in the past 5 years did the Storm not make the grand final after a week off, earning that rest in the semi-finals week, while it has worked a treat for Craig Bellamy's men since 2016, including winning the 2017 and 2020 premierships. Bellamy will also want somewhere near the 90% completion rate, 35 sets with the ball and 39 completed. His players managed against Manly to inflict the same kind of possession pain against the Panthers. Ivan Cleary will be hoping that his team keeps the same sort of discipline against the Storm as they did against the Eels, just 2 penalties in their opening 80 minutes. Now let's look into the teams. So we'll look at the Storm as star winger Josh Adokar returns from his hamstring injury and said early in the week he was running at 95% and will be good to go for Saturday. Fuller King hooker Brandon Smith was cleared of a facial fracture following his head clash with Josh Ioli of Manly in week 1 and is a confirmed starter. Tom Essenhoff is the 18th man, with Isaac Lume dropping out of the playing squad an hour before kick-off. Aaron Penney and Chris Lewis were the first 2 players cut from the squad on Friday. The Storm have won 4 of their past 5 preliminary finals. Now for the Panthers, Brian Toto was a late inclusion after being named in the 21-man squad among the reserves following his late withdrawal against the Eels. Villami Kikau ankle is also cleared to play and will come off the bench, with Tavita Pengai Jr. joining the starting pack. The Panthers lost prop Moses Leota to a minor calf complaint on Friday. His place in the starting side is taken up by Liam Martin, and Spencer Lineo comes onto the bench. Tyrone May, who had a knee problem, is set to make his return on the interchange bench, replacing Mitch Kenny who's got an ankle injury. May injured his MCL last month, but returned to training last week. Brett Naden is the 18th man for the Panthers, while Jermaine Hopgood was omitted from the squad on the game day. Isaac Tago and Leota were the two players to come out of the squad on Friday. And just a little bit of information, the Panthers have scored only 2 tries in finals matches in 2021. So we got kickoff, and the Storms start with the possession and kick deep in their first set. It is scooped by Toto and run forward. Jerome Luai is searching for an opening, and he gets it via Edwards. No sooner have the Panthers hit the 4th tackle, Melbourne gift them more field position after some confusion at the back between Jennings and Pappenhausen. They have a 6 again, and after a break in play, Cleary at dummy half picks up the ball and kicks out wide, where Crichton is waiting at the corner flag. And he scores the first try of the game on the 4th minute, which Nathan Cleary converts from out wide. Straight after that though, Jennings has dropped a golden opportunity for a try in effectively the same spot as Crichton, up the other end of the field. He fumbles the pass and the ball hula hoops around his legs before bobbling forward for a knock on. Storm are still about. Panthers need to keep an eye out. I wonder how much Panthers are feeling the physicality from last week rest and the opponents. Probably not much, because Edwards sweeps out and around and is on the dash. Cleary has it now, and Smith drives it hard in chase and now looks to be in some pain. A trainer is checking out his shoulder. A try is disallowed for the Storm on the 24th minute, as they are, well, sort of harshly dealt with that, unfortunately. Asafa Solomona is denied a 4-pointer. Benukin gives away a penalty while in possession for obstruction and a late in the tackle count, and the Panthers are off the hook with that. Half-time is not a million miles away, and while the Panthers have their tails up with the lead, it is still only 6 points, and Cleary's men will have to sustain the intensity if they are to stop the Storm getting back into this. Melbourne embark on a ferocious run, and Pappenhausen shifts the ball to Olam, and he would have been a sure thing had he not been held up magnificently from Crichton and Capewell. Melbourne though have a 6 again, and they go oh so close, short of the line by a few blades of grass, before Cleary cleans up and there's a line dropout. The Storm have had the ascendancy in terms of attack for the last few minutes, but Penrith's defence has been different this game, more picking up from the Parramatta game from last week. We're at 31 minutes at this part. On the 34th minute, Melbourne are go again. Olam is forced in his way forward. He's a big guy and he can move, and changes direction with ease to ward off 3 pink shirts before he finally gets brought down. About a minute later, Luai is making his way off the field for a HIA assessment and a mandatory 15 minutes on the sideline after a tackle around the legs shifts him off balance and his head hits the turf. The tackle by Munster is deemed accidental and no penalty is awarded. At this point, Christian Welch has been off the pitch for a HIA, and also Brandon Smith has been off because they are in a little bit of a mess now, as news filters through that Brandon Smith has been ruled out after failing a HIA, so that's him and Welch not available for the rest of the game. The Storm are in big trouble, and this time Panthers are approaching the line as half time is approaching on the left side. The nervous look on Bellamy's face in the coach's box says that Storm need to get to the break without conceding the second try. Hughes has got the memo, and the ball racing upfield as he's barely caught in time. That was an entertaining first half, and one that has flown in the face of the bookies' predictions, as Panthers lead 6-0 at half time. So second half begins and Melbourne needs a spark, or they could find themselves further adrift. No sooner have I thought that, but then Olam drops the ball. No player, let alone one of his standard, should drop. That's the sort of needless error that can result in tries. And on this occasion, it does. Penrith have the ball again and then work it expertly out to the left hand side. The last man is Toto, and he's only the line, it's over the line in a jiff. He scores on the left edge for the score to be 10-0. Cleary though unfortunately misses the kick to extend the lead, but Brian Toto is over again, and how they have missed him through last week's endeavours, shall we say, against the Eels. It's seemingly not a long way back for Melbourne if they can muster something to turn it around, but they can't seem to complete their sets. Asafa Solomona loses it prematurely this time, and again Pappenhausen makes a run and comes up short in the face of a lurking defender. So we continue during the game, and on the 51st minute, the Panthers on the 5th take the kick, and Pappenhausen, under some immense pressure, holds firm and catches the ball. Meanwhile, there is yet more nervous moments for the Storm's medical department as Kenny Bromwich is assessed after appearing to suffer a head knock in a hard tackle. He's pointing to his eye, which may or may not be the problem. Munster bizarrely kicks on tackle 2, and the ball goes out of play before it's brought back into play. But now the Panthers are challenging a tackle in mid-air of Luai, hoping for a penalty. It goes to the bunker, and the decision is overturned based that Luai is in fact offside. Penrith keep the challenge, but their decision to do so in the first place results in them being penalised for a penalty. At this time, Cleary kicks long into the corner and Josh Adokar is under it without hesitation. There is less than 20 minutes left in this, and the Storm's time is running out. The ball pops out behind their attacking line and Kafusi tracks back to smother it. In the ensuing 6 again, Hughes evades kick out and is darting this and that way with promise, but his efforts are ultimately fruitless. No breakthrough. Hughes has injured himself too and he's getting strapped up. And on the 64th minute, they need a sniff to shift the momentum in this game. They have been lacking in rhythm, the Storm, cohesiveness and composure for much of the match. Here they have it, as Grant goes left and plays it to Munster, who puts in a delicate kick which Pappenhausen makes no mistake with. He makes no mistake with the extras either, and suddenly there's only a try in this, as the Storm have scored their first points of the game. On the 69th minute, if the Storm manage another try, Cleary may be left to rue his earlier missed conversion. A Penrith set finishes inside the Melbourne's 10, and there they remain until the 4th tackle, while when Sorensen works it marginally forward. This won't do the trick. Cleary and Bromwich, meanwhile, clash awkwardly and both are momentarily stopped in their tracks. Storm makes a captain's challenge to a knock-on by Jennings while in an aerial contest for the ball with Burton. It is unsuccessful, and Penrith have the scrum feed and make it count. In the second of 2 sets, they shift the ball out right and then left, and on the 5th, Cleary looks to be running on fumes of an oily rag. We're coming up to the 76th minute and the Storm give their attack another whirl. Still, they're off colour by their own standards. Bromwich runs into some pink shirts at the halfway line before Remy Smith drops the ball at a time they really could have done with keeping it. Each have an attacking phase before Melbourne gift Penrith a penalty after an iffy tackle by Grant. Capewell appears to drop the ball under pressure, but Penrith challenge it anyway in what was surely a futile exercise. Replays show that he did in fact fumble it out of his own hands, meaning Melbourne have another shot with 3 minutes left on the clock. There is some tactical talk going on between Pappenhausen and the company, and it results in a play to the left when Munster feeds Kenny Bromwich on the 4th. The kick is collected by Penrith though, and with 40 seconds of play left, Hughes is trying to dodge Luai with a little joy. They have a 6 again, but are pinned inside their own 30, and unless they pull something out of their hearts, they're not here next week. And it will be a Panthers versus Rabbitohs grand final. And that's all she wrote at Suncorp Stadium. An upset to rival the greatest upsets in NRL history. Last month the Panthers lost 37 points to 10 to the Storm. This month they had them in the back pocket with some excellent defensive showings, rendering all the more impressive given Cleary's side had less than the rest of the less work to do. Grant, by the way, was put on report for a tackle on Edwards. It had a bit of a crusher about it, but it matters little to Penrith, who have a ticket to the season's decider against Wayne Bennett's South Sydney, who are on her high after thrashing Manly 36-16. So my man of the match, well, normally I'd look at the teams overall, but I can't ignore the improvement that the Panthers made in this game. Stepping stone from the Eels game, obviously. Same sort of apology how they played. So no, I would have looked at Jerome Hughes if Storm had won, but they didn't, so I can't count Storm into it. So, moving on the Panthers, I had a couple of thoughts. Dylan Edwards, because of his returns kicks, I got 200 on meters from 65. And the other one was he had 11 more tackles than my pick, and had played the entire 80 minutes because of that. But I'm going for Isaiah Young. He had 62 minutes on the pitch, and he did, remember rightly, 18 runs for 123 metres in his 65 minutes. So he was the player that everyone was making yards off the back of. He was their best player in my eyes. He was in the game more noticeable, where Kurt Capewell did the hard graft on the back of players like Yo, everything. but I'm going Isaiah for this game as I'm winning. Wow, what a week of rugby league in these playoffs. There have been a couple of big shocks, especially with Melbourne getting beat off the Penrith Panthers. We'll have a look at that in a few moments. But in the Super League, Hull KR got past Warrington Wolves, and it leads to the week 2, which is the semi-finals, with a reward for their victory to play away at Catalan Dragons on the 30th of September, this Thursday. So it'll be live TV from France for Sky Sports. And on the flip side, we have St Helens versus Leeds Rhinos. We thought it was going to be Saints versus Catalan versus Wigan and Saints versus Warrington. So it's all a turn up for the Bucks, which is great for the sport. If any of the two underdogs in these games, the Robins or the Rhinos, win their games, it's a grand final appearance for them. Now, can Saints get through so that they can try for 3 out of 3 for grand final wins? Or can Catalan get through the Robins so that they can win their first ever grand final to go with their league leaders shield? That'll be an amazing story, especially if next year the new team in the Super League is Toulouse. 2 French teams, because there will actually be some great derbies. Not too far away, but if you get my drift. All to get to the grand final at Old Trafford on the 9th of October. Gonna be fun. And now down under we have a once in a lifetime game of Penrith Panthers versus the South Sydney Rabbitohs. The most defensive team out of the 2 is the South's team, and with a Wayne Bennett side, wouldn't I think that was the case, to be fair, as he champions defence, ruthlessness in defence, and also structure when going forward. But 36 points on Manly, that's really good. Panthers not scoring as many points, but have now got a defensive mean streak about them. We'll see how that grand final goes on the 3rd of October, which is a week Sunday. Well, it's this Sunday coming up. I will now say thank you very much for watching in this video. Please remember, like, subscribe and share this video worldwide. Let me know what was your best game of this weekend in the top tier. I will be looking into covering a little bit of information with regards to the other games in the championship this week, and the women's, and also an NRL game. NARL, USARL game is what I meant. But in the meantime, stay safe, all the best, and I'll see you in the next video.